Hey, team, welcome to sellmorevirtually.com. We are so fired up. Interview number 2 with Ken Trupke, and we're going to get right to it. Hey, Ken, you deal at the CEO, you deal with many divisions of a company. We all know there's many divisions of a company. There's sales, there's marketing, there's operations. Speak into some of the challenges and things people can do to have those organizations within a company work better together.
Yeah, that's a great question. And just kind of off the top, one of the things I like to do is refer to those as departments, so that we just don't get that mindset of division,
Right.
like it should be intentionally separate, because they're different pieces, but of the whole. And we always come back to a football analogy, it seems like, but there's different roles. You've got offensive linemen who have a different role than the receivers, who have a different role than the running backs, who have a different role than the quarterback, but everybody's necessary. We just all have our own role. So we're divisions we're departments in a company rather than divisions, because we don't want to be divided. We want to be united. But another thing that I like to say about like organization charts is they're very important, because everybody should know where everybody else kind of fits in. Again, like if you put together your depth charts and your position things on a football team, so you know where you are and you know where everybody else is. And that also helps people know who their leader is, because culturally, I think everybody needs to have one person that they know is their leader. And that may not be the person who directs them every day or gives them projects or that they work on. I'll talk about that in a second. But who do I talk to if I'm sick, or if I need vacation days, or if I'm having this issue or whatever? Who do I talk to? Who's my one contact? And everybody needs one of those. So the org chart helps us understand who my leader is. And then you can see who everybody else's leader is. So maybe if you're having a problem with someone else in the company, you know who their leader is, and maybe your leader talks to their leader, or you talk to, it just helps keep things smooth. But that's the second thing about this, though, is that's not necessarily how we work. Typically, again, in this knowledge economy now today, it's so much about working with across departments, and we used to call that cross-functional back in the day. It's kind of just business now. There doesn't need to be a term for it. It's just how it works. But you don't really just work within your silo. Like salespeople don't just work with salespeople, and accounting people don't just work with accounting people. That's why I don't like division, because it sounds like we should be divided. But really, you're working laterally. You'll have a what we call a cross-functional team, where you maybe have a project that needs maybe some engineers, and maybe some people from quality if it's a manufacturing company, and some people from sales, because you want to get that customer perspective. And so you're going to work as teams. So the org chart isn't how we work. It just helps us understand how we're structured. But then how we work is in these smaller teams on a project basis. And that's become so much more important. And it's been kind of a tough shift, because the industrial economy was very much, the org chart was actually how you worked. You stayed in your division. It was a good word then, and worked within your division in the org chart. But today, that's not how we work. It's not about making widgets, 9 to 5. It's about knowledge economy. That's how we can have so many people be remote, and everybody's got a computer in front of them, because it's knowledge, and you work with who you need to work with on that project. And so it really comes down to knowing who's on your team for that project. And that could be different from project to project, but also you still need to know who your leader is for day in, day out stuff, and how the company's structured.
I picked up some new clients, and it's funny that you say this, because they're kind of operating in the old model. The salespeople are selling what they cannot fulfill, or sales teams are outselling fulfillment, or salespeople do not know how to price a project and they're not calling the project management people in for help. So how have you been able to turn divisions into, into cooperative groups?
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly the issue, is if you don't focus on making sure people are that cross-functional group, and that you're getting all the perspectives on things, you end up with people off, as always, doing their best, but still making suboptimal decisions and making things that aren't always in the best interest of the company, not intentionally, but just because they're not getting connected into all the different aspects to have the full kind of 360 perspective. And so, yeah, you really need to make sure that more football analogies, but it really is a team effort. And you got to make sure people know that, listen, you as offensive linemen have a specific role. So salespeople, you have a specific role, but that's different than other people. And so, but we all need to work together. You can't go off and do your own thing. You can't go off and outsell our ability to produce. And you can't go off and quote without knowing our costs. And so we got to make sure that we're working together across all the aspects of the business. And that comes back to leadership. The leaders need to recognize and reinforce that, guys, there's no winners on the losing team. So we either win together or we lose together. And so let's make sure when we're doing a project that we recognize it's a company-wide project, not just a sales project or a development project or a customer service project. And these are company projects. And it might be mostly those people in that one department, but it's probably going to have some aspects of other things. And when we call you into a meeting to give your perspective, that's what we expect. We need you to bring that unique perspective from where you sit, because you're the person that has that. And if we don't get that from you, then something's missing and we're going to make a less than optimal decision because we don't have all the information. Now, it doesn't mean once the salespeople speak up, they carry the day, or once the software engineers speak up, well, we're going to do whatever they want because this is a software company. It's that we get these full 360 perspectives, and now we can make good decisions. And now everybody can appreciate. You don't have to agree, but you need to appreciate where other people are coming from, because there's a lot of natural conflicts with roles. In manufacturing, for instance, engineering and manufacturing and quality tend to have three very different perspectives. And so they're butting heads all the time. Quality's saying you can't ship it. Manufacturing's going, but it's good enough. And engineering's like, but it's not to spec. Well, you need to be able to bring those together, appreciate those different perspectives. But in the end, guys, we got to get product out to customers. We're here to serve customers. That's how we win. We don't win by winning internal battles, but we also don't win by bulldozing people who don't agree with us. Yeah. And so back to leadership. So that's where the leader needs to say, listen, I need you guys to come together. I need to hear all the perspectives, and then we need to together make a decision. And if you guys can't come to one, then I, as the leader, will help you make that decision. You know, that's what leaders do in the end, is they make decisions. But they want to gather the facts from the team. And so it's tricky though, because people aren't naturally likely to want to work with people they disagree with, or, you know, people like to work with people they like and who think like them. And you start bringing people together with different opinions and it can get tricky. So I just always encourage leaders and try to myself reinforce the idea that there's no winners on the losing team. We win together, we lose together. Now, maybe the offense or the receiver catches the touchdown pass. That's kind of sales. Sales kind of gets the glory because they caught the pass. Well, if the line didn't block, the quarterback gets sacked. So now how many touchdowns are you scoring? Everybody had to do their job for that touchdown. Yes, the receiver looks like it was all him, great catch, but a lot of other things had to happen behind the scenes for that to happen. And so it's a team effort, and we're going to win together and lose together. So,
well, you know, I learned my coaching philosophy when I learned coaching, it was whole part whole, you know, and it was a great concept where the whole team had to understand, what are we trying to accomplish with this play? How does it play into the clock? Everything. And then we would divide the team up, and the lineman would go with the offensive line coach. All the position coaches would drill the techniques and what happened during that play. But then we'd bring them back together. Okay. And we would do a walkthrough in concept versus different defenses. And then we turn it loose and do it live. But it was a whole part whole. It's the same thing in business.
Yep, 100%. So, yeah. And sometimes I don't always go to the football analogy. I've got someone on the team currently, and you know her because you work with her as well, but she's got a theater background. And so when I'm talking to her, she has no interest in sports and no concept of sports. So instead of football, it's like putting on a play. You've got the actors and you've got the stars. that's kind of the receivers in football, but you also have the chorus and the rest of the cast. And then you have the techs behind the scenes, and you've got the director and the producer. There's a lot of people that go into making those stars look good, but we win as a team. Either that performance went well or it didn't. And you can't have a great performance by the star and then but everything else is a disaster, and have people leave that theater thinking it was a great performance, a great play.
Yeah.
So it takes everybody. But I try to, when I talk to her, at least use a theater analogy instead of a sports analogy. But it's the same idea. Anywhere you've got a group of people working together, it takes everybody. And there's nobody that's above that system. There might be people who have more prominent roles, but everybody's important. Everybody matters.
Yeah. My son works for one of the world's largest production companies. They do trade shows. They do big conventions. I mean, they have clients like Microsoft, and he is the head of videography, but he's the head of, when a show comes in, has sales sold it for the right price? Can they deliver this show for the right price? And he said it's constantly that sales will sell something to get the sale done. They'll take any money. But then what they promise so far outside of budget, it destroys margin. And that's really big. And, sometimes salespeople just want to close the deal and then turn it loose, to fulfillment.
Right.
So, well, we're going to turn this loose here, and we're going to finish this one off. Tell them how they can get to you.
Easiest way is kentrupke.com, and you can get contact information from there. There's some videos out there if you want to get more of me and my take on some of these topics. You can also, as always, reach out over the phone, call or text 616-822-2998. And I will get back with you as soon as I can, but definitely reach out. Love to have a conversation.
Perfect. Hey, team, we're going to be moving over to interview number 3 with Ken Trupke. Let's go now.